More than 8,000 hectares of koala habitat on the New South Wales mid-north coast is now off limits to loggers. The New South Wales government has halted logging in parts of the proposed Great Koala National Park while it consults with the industry. The decision comes after weeks of public scrutiny over the ruling to allow logging to continue in sites earmarked for protection.
Project's own Hamish Macdonald has been on the ground in New South Wales covering this. Hamish, how's the community reacted to this news?
Obviously, there's a degree of relief and excitement. People have been protesting roadside and in these forests for some months now, so they'll see this as a win. But if someone's sitting down with the koalas tonight and explaining what's happened, they'd probably say, look, politics is the art of the compromise. What we're talking about here is 5% of the total area that has been talked about as this Great Koala National Park. That represents about 40% of the area that's been identified as koala habitat. So it's certainly not the whole thing when you think about just earlier this year, Labor in New South Wales was going to the election promising everyone that its big environmental policy was this Great Koala National Park.
Haim, the forestry sector and unions, they were warning of job losses as a result of this decision, but are we seeing that happen?
Well, I think that remains to be seen. But what we have observed, Sarah, certainly in recent weeks, is the arguments being put forward, certainly by the unions, have disintegrated somewhat. It was only a couple of weeks ago on the project that we spoke to them and asked them, look, how many members, union members, do you have in this part of New South Wales that you think are going to be affected if this is turned into a national park or logging is stopped? They couldn't even tell us how many members they have then. We've gone back to them since. They still can't tell us how many members. So there are a range of estimates, but I think it is worth noting that some argue forestry in that part of Australia actually makes a loss. That's disputed by forestry itself, but it's certainly not making a huge profit.
How much further does this have to play out?
I think that's where it gets really interesting, Nick, because this is the big environmental election promise in New South Wales. But this government already looks like it's struggling to make that or meet that promise. So there's now going to be a consultation with all of the stakeholders, like the unions, like forestry, but also the local communities, many of whom want this national park. That's kicking it at least into 2024, maybe 2025, before we start to formally see this national park take place, which is so crucial to saving our koala.
Hamish said something intriguing before. When are you planning to sit down with the koalas and take them through this policy?
Well, you know, later tonight, we'll just sort of do bedtime stories with Blinky Bill.
Oh, wow.
That's very cute as well.
It's on brand. We'll send a crew to that. Hamish, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, guys.